Hey, what's up my Dragon Legion? Hi y'all been? So today Dragoons, we're going to be doing a deck profile that some of you Dragoons in particular have been asking for to see for quite some time. And that is a CardFight Vanguard deck update of my current Armor Break Narukami deck profile. Now, I haven't really been able to touch this deck for quite some time because I was busy with so many other things. I was busy getting my Yu-Gi-Oh cards together. I was busy trying to get my Narukami deck, not just my Narukami, I was trying to focus on getting the other ideal Vanguard decks I was trying to get together. I just got in a buddy fight not too long ago, so there was like a lot of things that took me a while before I could finally get my hands on some more cards. I can do some crazy stuff with Armor Break Dragon, and after quite some time, I'm finally now able to put together a Armor Break Dragon based upon what I think would make this deck really work out really well. Now, what I really like about this deck right here in particular is that it does use some of today's current cards, but most of the good portion of the deck relies on most of the old school style of Narukami's while still using at least a little bit of the newer fresh brand style of Narukami's. And this deck definitely does utilize using Armor Break Dragon very well. Armor Break Dragon, it's understandable why people don't want to play because it is very a high costed card. You have to counterblast 3 cards, pitch 3 cards, just to kill 4 rear guards, and 2 of those rear guards are going to kill could be your own, and it's all for one push of the 10,000 power. I'll make him gain 10,000 power and 2 crits. Now, it is kind of a big risk, but when you play this deck right and properly, this deck can actually be worth the risk, and you won't be risking as much things as you would think you would be when you're playing this deck right here. And with that being said, we're going to go right straight to the deck right now, and I'm going to show you Dragoons how my Narukami Armor Break Dragon deck is currently right now at the moment. Alright, here we go. Let's get the start of Vanguard out of the way. We're back to using one copy as one Spark Kid Dragoon. I like Spark Kid Dragoon. Oh, now I love, where is he? There he is. I love using Ambush Dragon very well, but keep in mind this deck is not really Eradicator based like it used to be, so I'm no longer using him no more for when I'm playing Armor Break Dragon. I'm sticking with gonna be using Spark Kid Dragoon because there's not really that many Eradicators in this deck right now at the moment. All it is just straight up basic old school armored Narukamis, with the exception of Armor Break Dragon and some Eradicators in particular. So you do really need this guy right here so you can get your grade 3s out faster, sooner the better. All that crazy good stuff. So one Spark Kid Dragoon is pretty good. Next for the trigger lineup, we have, of course, the 4 heals. I don't think I really need to explain about the heals. Also, next we have, for the rest of the trigger lineups, now, most people when it comes to Narukami's, especially Armor Break Dragon, I've noticed a lot of people normally do the 8 critical 4 draw lineup. As for me, I prefer doing my favorite lineup, and that is the 6 critical and 6 draw lineup right here. Now, I like this lineup right here over the 8-4 instead of, I like the 6-6 over the 8-4 because when you're playing Armor Break Dragon, keep in mind there is that small possibility you could end up killing your own rear guards with Armor Break Dragon. So you do need a little something to help you recover, help you get your resources out faster. And you go out with playing straight max critical with not really that much draw to rely on. When you go crazy with Armor Break Dragon, you won't have that many options to rely on. You won't have any backup to support your Armor Break Dragon, and you'll end up killing your rear guards very easily when you're reckless. And at least by playing this right here, whether you play reckless or not, you could have some stuff to fall back on and give you some recovery units to get your stuff going really fast. So 6-6 is pretty good. Now for the grade 1 lineup, we have the 4 perfect guards because they're your perfect guards, so why not? And here's a guy that we have not seen in a long time in Vanguard, at least in my perspective, and that is 4 copies of Red River Dragoon. Now this guy's pretty good right here because this deck is all about having as much power as you possibly can right here, and this guy gets in there very good, and it's actually okay to play this guy again because keep in mind, as I just said earlier, there's not really too many Eradicators in this deck right now at the moment, and there's not really too many cards that specifically needs Eradicators, so I think right now we're okay to play with 4 of these guys again. Dragoons is just a really good, reliable card right here. He just boosts your up deal front row guy with so much power, and he just gets in there very well. Now, a lot of people will tentatively say that with the way how Vanguard is right now at the moment, the 8,000 power is not really necessary no more. Well, that only applies to certain decks. Like if you're playing sub-clans, like of course Eradicators, Steel Dragons, Liberators, etc., etc., it's not really necessary to play the vanilla 8Ks no more. But if you're playing something but in my opinion, if you're playing something that does not need sub-clans, like of course your ideal Vanguard or whatever such, then I think you can pretty much get away with playing at least a few 8Ks. And honestly, I think you do partially need some 8Ks when you're playing non-sub-clan decks, because it gives your front row guys the additional heavy amount of power they need right out back, so they can just swing in and lane in those aggressive attacks really fast, a lot harder. So this is pretty good right here. And next we play 2 copies of Photon Wyvern Bomber. This guy and your ideal Vanguard are like best friends right here. This guy, when he's boosting your Vanguard, or your opponent has 3 or more damage, this guy gives your Vanguard additional 4,000 power, which makes your Vanguard pretty huge to swing in, especially when you go off your break ride very well. You just swing in with this huge amount of power. When you go off your break ride and or your armor break dragon skill, your Vanguard is going to be swinging in with so much huge power, your opponent will not even know what to deal with. So this guy gets in there very well. So 2 Photon Wyvern Bombers is very good right here. And next we have 2 copies of Rising Phoenix. I really like Rising Phoenix because all it takes is Soul Blast 2, and by the way, this deck does not need souls, so this guy comes in really handy really well. Soul Blast 2 cards that you're not even going to ever need, and you get a free draw, which is always pretty appreciative. Helps you get your stuff going, and helps you get your resources out faster. So Rising Phoenix is always pretty good right here. Get your stuff going. And to finish out the grade 1 lineup, a kind of a tech card I want to try out, see how well it works out. And that is 2 copies of Dragon Dancer Agila. I apologize if I get the name wrong. She's a pretty good card. Her ability is when a rear guard is put to the drop zone by one of your card's effects, you can use her effect, Soul Blast 1 card. When you do, choose one of your units, gain 3,000 power. Now, it's not a straight up seriously good effect, but keep in mind, 3,000 power. So let's say she's behind something like, let's say these guys are both your rear guards right here, and you just got done using like Death Scheme's effect to retire a guy, whatever such. You can just go over with her effect, Soul Blast 1 card, and you can just give the 3,000 power to this guy right here, and you're already swinging in with 20,000 power right out of the back. It just helps you get in there with some heavy duty offense that'll make your opponent waste up some serious resources, which is very fantastic. So 2 Athena is pretty good. I really like her right in the moment. And yeah. And that's it for the grade 1 lineup. For the grade 2 lineups, we play 4 copies of Eradicator Thunderboom Dragons. I choose them over Thunderstorm Dragoon just because I love dragons, so why not? I don't play Spark Rain Dragon because, as I kept on mentioning a lot, there's not really too many Eradicators in this deck, and you don't really need anything that involves straight up Eradicator base. So you don't really need Spark Rain Dragon no more. If you don't have if you're not gonna use Spark Rain Dragon, either him or Thunderstorm Dragoon is like a better choice card to play over Spark Rain, because again, there's not really too many Eradicators you can really utilize. However, the idea of break ride cards that you're gonna have as your Vanguard along with your armor break are going to be Eradicators. So if you do want to use Spark Rain Dragon, that's fine. Just keep in mind when you do have Armor Break Dragon on top of your Break Ride guy, your Spark Rain will no longer get his plus 3,000 power ability. So you're better off just sticking with these guys when that happens. It's just really based upon a player's preference. I just prefer what I just said. That's all. Next we have 4 Death Schemes. Death Schemes like very good. Counter Blast 2 cards, kill any grade 2 or below rear guard your opponent controls. Pretty much a Blaster Blade for Narukami right here. This guy's really good because in case your Armor Break Dragon does not do well, if you have like 5 cards of damage all face up, you can just go off the Armor Break Dragon's fact, Counter Blast 3 cards, whatever, kill your opponent's 2 front rear guards, and then just call this guy out, Counter Blast 2, kill another additional rear guard that you think is going to give you problems, and you just swing in with so much huge power and by the time you're done swimming in with everything, you'll either have game or your opponent will not have that many resources to reflect back on when that happens. So 4 death schemes is pretty good. And then 3 copies of Demonic Dragon, Berserkers, Garda. This guy, just your basic, whenever his attack hits a Vanguard, card face down damage goes face up. Nothing really too special. Really good, help you get your cards back face down damage, back face up, so you can have some resources to rely back on when you need to go off with your death schemes, or your armor break dragons, or your ignition dragon, who I will get to in just a little bit. And that's it. That's all there really is for the grade 2 lineup. Nothing really too special. For the grade 3 lineup, we have 2 copies of Bowing Sword Dragon. Bowing Sword Dragon is a pretty good. In case if you don't get to your Ignition Dragon, Bowing Sword Dragon is a very good substitute when something like that comes up. Ride Narukami type of him, Limit Break 4 for a break ride. Where Narukami rides the type of him, choose one of your opponent's front row rear guards, and retires it. Now, the difference between him and Ignition Dragon is that, unlike Ignition Dragon, you choose which one of the other rear guards gets retired. The only downfall is it's only front row, and it's only front row, and it's only one rear guard you're retiring. Like, it's kind of hard to debate on who's better, Ignition or Bowing Sword Dragon. I just like both just for the occasion of when I need both. So, which is always pretty good. And then, I only have 1 copy of this card, looking for 1 more, except for other deck ideas, of course. And that's supposed to be 2 copies of Radicator Ignition Dragon. Ignition Dragon is like an insane, really good card. His ability is Limit Break 4. When Narukami rides on top of him, that you engage plus 10,000 power, and your opponent chooses 2 of his or her rear guards to be retired. Now, unlike Bowing Sword Dragon, you don't get to choose a target, which is not always the greatest. It kind of does suck every now and then. I'm not gonna lie. But what's so great about this is that your opponent, if your opponent knows that you're playing the armor break build, they'll most likely try to. You'll end up pressuring them to the point where they sacrifice their own rear guards because they'll think that they'll think you're not crazy. They'll think you won't go all the armor break dragon ability, and when you do, oh my god, they will pay for it so hard. Now you have excuse to go crazy with armor break dragon, limit break 4, pitch 3 Narukami and such. Counter blast 3, kill your opponent's 2 rear guards. Bam, they're down to their 1 last rear guard out of nowhere, and you just go in there aggressive with some huge amount of power out of nowhere. So, Ignition Dragon is pretty good. Some people will say Bowing Sword's better, some people say Ignition's better. It's really based upon player's preference, in my opinion. And to finish off the grade 3 lineup, of course, your idea Vanguard for this deck right here. I still only have 2. Again, I was busy working on other stuff, looking for 2 more. Your idea Vanguard is not 2 cards. Your idea Vanguard is Armor Break Dragon. Now, for those who do not know Armor Break Dragon has Limit Break 4, Counter Blast 3 cards, and choose 3 cards in your hand and discard them. Retire all rear guards in each fighter's front row, and his unit gets plus 10,000 power and 2 critical until end of turn. Now, what the goal of this deck right here, what I'm trying to do right here is have my break ride guys and my other guys in particular try to kill all of my opponent's resources, make him waste their entire hand, and when I'm comfortable where they won't have that many cards to explode against me with, then I'll explode hard with Armor Break Dragon, pay his cost, kill my opponent's rear cards, and just go crazy with Armor Break Dragon for game right out of nowhere. So, it's definitely a good card to have when you're trying to go for game, whatever such. But again, it's very understandable why no one wants to play this card. Because again, it's a very high risk card, and if you high risk this card too hard, you will end up paying for it very hard by the turn after, which kind of really stinks to say right there. Now, one tip I was given about what to do with this deck right here, shout out to that person. I apologize if I do not remember your name, sir, or madam. One tip I got on my last time I did an Armor Break Dragon deck update was, let's say this is my Vanguard right here, and these guys are my front row guys right here, and I'm about to go off with Armor Break Dragon skill. But before I go off with Armor Break Dragon skill, and still go off right out of the back, if I have 2 empty rearguard circles behind them, I'll just move them back, then declare Armor Break Dragon skill. Then my 2 rear guards that were supposedly here will not get retired, and I still kill my two opponent's front row guys. And then when that happens, I can just move these guys back up, and then I can just come right out of nowhere and just do this. Call you here, call you here, and of course call you here. Or maybe, well, that too if you want, but yeah, this seems to be a little bit more better right here. For example, just saying for example right here. So this deck does get in there very well. It's just really only good. It's just only really based upon player's preference of how this deck is really based upon. A lot of people will have different opinions of how to properly run an armor break dragon deck, in my opinion. Of all that opinion, so the deck does do what it does well. It is only really, it's only as good, short to say, as whoever wants to use the deck, him or herself. So it's a good deck, but it's not a deck that most people would want to do for understandable reasons. So, but I still enjoy the deck. I still enjoy playing the deck right here. And speaking of Vanguard decks, another other project I'm gonna try doing is I'm gonna try to do the Tempest build of Narukami's, and then as I said before in a previous video of my Narukami deck profile update, I'm gonna try to put together a Bowing Saber deck as well. So hopefully things will work out pretty well. And with that being said, let me know what your Dragoons think about this deck profile in the comment section down below. And I'll see you Dragoons around. Hope you Dragoons enjoy this video. Please leave a like and a favorite if you did. And subscribe today to become part of the Dragon Legion Alliance. And I'll see you Dragoons another day. Christian Dragoon, signing out. Peace.